When completing factor label conversions, we need to read the text of the problem and identify what we know, the number that's given to you, in this case 16.5 inches. I'm going to identify that with a K for what I know, and then also find the question word. In this case, the question word is how, and it's looking for this unit. I'm going to put a question mark above that unit. What we know always goes in the top left box. So 16.5 inches. 9 times out of 10, this bottom left box isn't used, so I'm just going to cross it off. And then we know that this unit inches is not the same as the question marked unit yards. So I need to get inches to cross off, and to do that I need to put inches in the denominator of my fraction. The denominator will allow this unit and this unit to cross off. This space here is going to be a conversion factor or an equivalent statement, sorry about that, which is coming up from these known values. It also turns out that some of these are ones that you should definitely memorize. So since we're going to yards, I need to get to something closer to yards. In that case, inches to feet is a good conversion. There are 12 inches for every 1 foot, and that's told to me up at the top. Something I also know. Inches unit crosses off. Now, feet is closer to yards, but it's not yards, so I need feet to cross off. For every 1 yard, there are 3 feet. And then I need to put this into my calculator. To do that, I'm going to put the numerator in the calculator and divide by the denominator. This numerator is just like in algebra, where you multiply all of your numerators and divide by all of your denominators. Every time we have an intersection of a line, that really represents a time sign. It's just faster and easier for us to create grids using tables. But it means the same exact thing. So numerically, in my calculator, I could put 16 times 1 times 1 divided by 12 times 3, also in parentheses. So just parenthesis all the top numbers, parenthesis all the bottom numbers, and between each of the numbers, individual numbers, is a time sign. Between the top and the bottom is the division. We don't really need to do the multiply by 1 because those don't change our number. And I'm going to change my calculator out of scientific notation. And 16 divided by, in parentheses, 12 times 3. Close my parentheses, equals. That is going to equal 0.4444 repeating. We're going to keep 3 decimal places past the decimal, 0.444. And then the only unit left in my problem is yard. That's going to go at the end. So to recap, identify what we know. What we know goes in the top left box. Get rid of the units because that's not what we want to find out about, our question mark. Our question mark unit should always be the last unit, and it should not be crossed off. So the next problem, how many yards are in 25 miles? How is a question word, so that's a question mark. 25 miles is what we know. 25 miles goes in the top left box. Cross off my bottom. I know I have to get rid of miles, and then my conversion factor, I do have one that goes from miles to feet. There are 5,280 feet in every 1 mile. Miles cross off. I don't want feet because that's not yards, and I have a conversion for feet to yards. 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. In my calculator, the top numbers, parentheses, 25 times 5,280 divided by the bottom number, 1 times 3, which could just be really divided by 3, equals 44,000. And then the only unit that didn't get crossed off is yards. Box the answer to find it. Moving down. A lot of text. I'm looking for numbers. I'm looking for question words. I see a question word, how? So how many years? That's my unit. It's my time unit. And over on the right-hand side of the problem, it says 55 centuries. That's what we know. So what we know goes in our top left box. 55 centuries. I'm just going to abbreviate C-E-N-T, centuries. We know we don't want centuries. We want to find out about years. There are 100 years for every 1 century. That's a conversion that's told to us at the top. So in the calculator, 55 times 100, 5,500 years. Number 4, on a trip to remote fishing camp in Canada, you see a road sign that tells you the next town is 84 kilometers away. 84 kilometers is what we know. I just marked that with a K. I know it's not in your screen. How many miles, question word how, miles is our unit. That's our question mark. Always start with what you know. 84 kilometers. We don't want kilometers because I'm trying to find out about miles. Now, kilometers is a metric unit, miles is an English unit. We need to, at some point, use a metric conversion that goes from metric to English. The one that is for length or distance is centimeters to inches. So we know we have to use this conversion factor at some point in this problem. So since I need to get to centimeters to use that conversion factor, I need to get kilometers closer to centimeters. And to do that, I'm going to go every 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. Okay, that's provided to you at the top. That's one that you should also know. Kilometers crosses off. For every meter, we got to get rid of meters. Every 1 meter, there are 100 centimeters. Again, that's provided to you at the top. That's another one that you should just know. We need to get rid of centimeters, and this is where we can go from centimeters to inches. So for every 2.54 centimeters, there's 1 inch. This gets us from metric to English. Then we need to get rid of inches, and we can go to feet because that's going to get us closer to miles. There are 12 inches for every 1 foot. By the way, this conversion again was provided to us at the top. This one's provided to us at the top. You should know that one. And then feet to miles, there are 5,280 feet for every 1 mile. Now we just need to plug the numbers into our calculator. All the top numbers inside parentheses. Whoops. Parentheses 84 times 1,000 times 100 times 1 times 1 times 1, which I don't really need to do, divided by, parentheses, divide by 1, 1, we don't need to do that, so 2.54 times 12 times 5,280, close the parenthesis, it equals 52.1951 miles. The camera, so my final answer will be 52.195 miles. I know I'm using miles because that's the only unit left. That's a reasonable number. Our original number in kilometers was 84, 52, that's reasonable. How many days? How many is a question word. Days is our unit. Our number is the 48,987 minutes. Start with what we know. We don't want minutes in our final answer, so we're going to get rid of those. We're trying to get to days, so minutes to hours seems like a reasonable conversion. There are 60 minutes in every 1 hour. That's something that you should know. It's provided to you at the top as well. Minutes crosses off. And then hours to days is something that you should also know. It's also provided to you at the top. 24 hours in 1 day. Cross off hour. Do the math in your calculator. 48,987. That could go in parentheses, but since the other two numbers are ones, I just omit them. Divide by, and these do need to go in parentheses, 60 times 24. equals 34.0187. 3 digits past the decimal is an 8, trailed by a 7. The 8's going to round up. And then my unit will be day. Box our answer so we can find it. It's the first half of this worksheet.